Big Sills! Appreciate you guys coming aboard. Thank you very much. We appreciate it as you do each and every single day. One of the fastest growing shows on YouTube. Why that's important, I'm going to tell you here in a second. But we so appreciate you. Please hit the like button. Thank you guys very much. I want to say this to you here. Want to know why football and why the NFL made investments in Amazon, streaming, everything else that you see now on the net. Thursday Night Football, the most watched television show in history, is Super Bowl 57. I don't care if it's the Jags or the Lions. Wouldn't have mattered. Football is king, especially in a city like Philly, Buffalo, Green Bay. It's all they have. It's civic pride. Then, when you put on top of it, 54 million people watch the NFL draft. Some dude from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. The Jets pick in the 7th round. Bob Smith. Everyone goes nuts. Football has become such a dominant part of our life. I grew up on baseball, and I grew up in the Northeast. Baseball was dominant. I wasn't a football fan growing up. I was a Yankee fan. Still a Yankee fan. I could give you every number, every statistic, every single record that organization has ever had. I was a Yankee fan. I was a Thurman Munson guy. I was a Thurman Munson, Reggie Jackson guy growing up. Football was kind of like something else to me. Now, of course, Robustelli, family relations, being in the NFL, Hall of Fame, it was part of it, but I was a baseball fan. Dude, the biggest rivalry for me every year was Yankees and Red Sox. Baseball was king. Baseball lost that crown. Apple pie, hot dogs, Major League Baseball. Baseball lost their place in this country. Football's taken it. People like football, especially pro ball. You know why? Players' contracts aren't guaranteed. It's kind of like you guys got to get up every day to go earn a paycheck, don't you? That's what's symbolic about the business plan of the NFL. Hey, the quarterbacks, you know who they are. Those of you like your bosses at work. Hey, those guys are different. Me and you are meat and potato guys, blue-collar dudes. We go to work every day. Shit, I got to make money just like you every day to support myself. That's the essence of the league. That's why people like it. And I think politics has helped the NFL. Can I tell you why? You can't move the scoreboard in sports. If you tune on a news show, they move the scoreboard. That guy's not the president of the United States. Fake news. That guy, that election is phony. He didn't really win. She didn't really win. Glass ceilings, this and that. NFL, football, there's a scoreboard. You can't move it. And you know what's cool? Fans don't want to move it. That's why football has these incredible numbers. Over 300,000 fans showed up to Kansas City just to sit there and watch that great event. The NFL is dominating. Kudos to them. They do such a great job at marketing their sport. Remember, they only play once a week, which makes it even more intriguing. Some of you guys like Tone are too young, but do you guys remember back in the day when they used to have the game of the week with Garagiola and Kubek? And it would be like the Saturday game. Could be Twins and Royals. We all sat around waiting for Mel Allen's This Week in Baseball. I used to sit around waiting for that. This Week in Baseball, the game of the week. Remember that? I love that stuff. But the oversaturation, and baseball's become too regionalized now. It's not the national sport it once was, like football is. Dude, I learned one thing about the Philadelphia sports fans. Dude, you guys love the Sixers. Great win last night without Embiid. Harden went off. Nuts. Great. Harper's back, DH. Thank God they have the universal DH. Great stories. But nothing like the Eagles. That team is civic pride in that city. You guys love that team. I'm not saying you don't like the Flyers or some of these other teams. Bills, Steelers. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying, though, that in that city, football's king. Football dominates. And you know what? You identify with the Eagles more than you do with the millionaire baseball players who have everything guaranteed, or basketball. You look at those NFL guys, you got to earn your paycheck. That's one of the cool things about the sport. And by the way, there's no ending calendar anymore like it used to be. When the Super Bowl ended, that was it. It was over. Now we have contracts with Jalen Hurts, free agency period, the draft, June 1. Shit, I think May 11th is the dropping of the schedule. We're going to know exactly where your teams are going to be playing and if they're going to be playing on national television. Let me give you one other example. So Aaron Rodgers, 40-year-old dude, he's now a Jet, 400% increase in season tickets. Pretty amazing. All right, we got a ton of shit to hit on. By the way, to get his thoughts, my boy Philly 500, 5:30 Eastern, is going to join us. We'll get his thoughts. I heard you guys tell me that he sent me out a link. I said, dude, don't do that. What do you think? I'm Tone? I'm not that mechanically inclined. You got to send me a text message. Let me know what you want. I never do shows. I never do them. I turn more shows down. Radio, streaming, I turn more shows down than you would probably want to know. But for a guy like that, I'm going to do it because he always comes on. So Philly 500. Neil, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to all you guys. I'm going to get to you guys here in a minute. I appreciate it. Let me throw some names at you. Because now, the last piece of the Howie Roseman puzzle gets put on the board. Now you get to complete the puzzle. Still a little bit more work to do. Let me throw some names at you that some guys are going to be casualty hits come June 1. Would you look at them on a Howie special? Would you look at them? Jameis Winston? Nah. He's going to be a casualty hit to the Saints because of the Derek Carr signing. Eagles have no interest in that. They drafted a kid. They signed Mariota. I think the Eagles are good. Actually, I think the Eagles upgraded their backup position. Right? How about Harrison Smith? Little old in the tooth. 33. Safety. 6-time Pro Bowler. Vikings. Any interest? On a reduced deal? The only thing you look at is last year, because of injuries, they targeted him a lot. And there was success against him last year, according to Pro Football Focus. He's an experienced safety. My opinion, it's about $18 million. They're going to cut his ass. How about for a year? Right, Neil? As Ringo gets ready to maybe take that ascent. Would that be something you'd be interested in? Harrison Smith, 1-year deal, 33, safety. Okay? He's going to get cut. Somebody to look at. And for Howie to wield his magic. Now, we know what happened this past weekend. How about Shaq Barrett? Edge rusher. He's 30. Would you be interested in Shaq Barrett? I think the Bucs are going to cut him. Now, the Bucs may not cut him because of the tragedy that happened this past weekend. How about Shaq Barrett giving you more depth? Putting him there. He's going to be he's only 30 years old. And he is going to be, in my opinion, a very highly motivated football player because he's going to be playing for his daughter. And he's going to be playing for his family's sanity. Man, there's going to be a ton of teams that are going to offer him opportunities. Okay? Derek Barnett's not going to help you. Shaq Barrett will beat him out and end that experiment, that 7-year experiment that has not worked. Or it may motivate Derek Barnett. Right? Shaq Barrett, 30 years old. Injury-plagued season last year. Put him in a rotation with all them dudes. By the way, we got a topic on Nolan Smith and also Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. We're going to do that here in a minute. I think Michael Thomas is going to be cut. How about Michael Thomas as your number 3 guy? Who cares if he gets 35, 40 catches? He's going to expect that. You create depth and you put talent on the football team. Michael Thomas. How about him? And then you tell him flat out, we're going to put you in the slot. You're not going to have 100 catches. Let's get that out of the way here. You're not going to have 100 catches. We'll put you in the slot. You get a chance to win a Super Bowl. What's more important to you? 100 catches or a Super Bowl and a chance to revitalize your entire resume where people next year will want to look at you as a number 2. Or look at what Odell Beckham just got at $15 million. Remember something about Beckham. Beckham was the number 3 guy. This is where I got this from. Okay? This is where I got this from. Hey, Gigi, it doesn't matter if they signed extensions. I still think he's going to be a casualty hit come June 1. Even if he did, I think they're the worst team in the NFL in cap. How about this? Beckham was the 3rd guy in Los Angeles. He just signed a $15 million deal in Baltimore. $15 million deal. And he's been injured 3 of the last 4 years. You could pitch that to him. Interested? Why wouldn't he? Says he won't. Why, Stoney? You're going to sit in New Orleans? Or are you going to go to some shitty team to get catches on a bad team? Beckham's going to be good with Lamar? Don't you think Michael Thomas would be good with Jalen? How about this kid? C.J. Mosley, New York Jets linebacker. Relationship with Joe Douglas. Here's your Kaiser White. 2022 second team All-Pro. I think he's going to be a casualty hit. There's your linebacker. May not quite be Devin White. But how about C.J. Mosley? Second team All-Pro in 2022. I think he's a casualty hit. He signed some huge contract extension. Now that you've brought over Aaron Rodgers, you got to make now financial decisions because remember something, Joe Douglas didn't cut that deal with Aaron Rodgers. And do you know next year they owe Aaron Rodgers $104 million. $104 million. They got to pay him $104 next year. because Green Bay cut that deal. Remember that. They got decisions to make. CJ Mosley, as your veteran line, but you put CJ Mosley on that defense, you're complete. You got a better unit than you did a year ago. And your safety position might actually be better, deeper. Here's another one that might shake your tree leaves, but also injure your opponent in your own division. Jayron Kearse, Cowboys safety. He's going to be a casualty cap hit. How about putting him over? Keeping him in a division the same way you kept James Bradbury. How about that? See, to me, I like the Harrison Smith and I like the CJ Mosley. I would keep an eyeball on those two players. Smith's a little long in the tooth. No Cowboys in Philly. You guys are preposterous. Okay? Seriously, you guys are nuts. By the way, I've ranked, we're going to do this at the bottom of the hour. I've ranked all the teams and what I thought they did on the 3 days in the NFL draft. So we're going to do that at the bottom of the hour. I'm also going to rank the top 10 teams at both NFC and AFC. And I'm going to pick out surprise guys that I'm going to be looking at who were drafted in the first round that I'm going to keep an eyeball on. So Harrison Smith, Vikings, 6-time Pro Bowler, teaching the young kids back there. CJ Mosley, linebacker. What I'm trying to tell you is that come June 1, Howie Roseman's going to have players to pick from because this list is going to get bigger. It's going to continue to grow. This thing's going to be, Howie's got one more shining moment. That starts June 1. There's also some free agents that are out there right now. Okay? By the way, see what DeAndre Hopkins said today? DeAndre Hopkins goes, who said I want to leave Arizona? You know what he's found out? Nobody's going to pay that money unless Arizona picks up the majority of that contract. And Arizona is not. He could be cut too. You understand there's an enormous number associated with him this year and next year on that Arizona cap. So he might be cut. He could be. DeAndre Hopkins, if I'm Howie, how'd you like to come play in the slot here in Philly? Could you imagine Hopkins, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, DeAndre Swift, and Dallas Goedert? Dude, one more piece, it's absurd. One more piece for the Eagles, it's absurd. I like Swift. I love what he did to the Eagles in game 1. Now, health is an issue with him, too. I like him, though. I do. I think he's a ball player. Okay? See, what the Eagles have done, they've made it fashionable for players to look at opportunity better and do this. Watch. You know, I might not get my numbers, but if I win a Super Bowl or if I win the opportunity to win the NFC and I'm going to be in the playoffs this year, I'm going to be playing with an organization and everybody. I'll tell you this. You know who won the draft? You know why Philly won the draft? Because of all the moves that they made. And I'm going to tell you why there were. Do you guys know there were 40? Why do you think there were 43 trades in the draft? Why do you think 43 trades in the draft? Why do you guys think that? Why do you think there was so many trades? 43 of them. You guys have an idea? Why do you think there were 43 trades? Just spitballing here between us two here. Why do you think there were so many? 43. Jason goes weak draft. That's probably it, Jace. People were trying to position themselves in the front end of the draft because I'm going to tell you guys this. Clifford's light in talent. Watch this. I think there's guys that are going to be in rounds 3 through 7. They're going to struggle to make the NFL teams. I think there's going to be guys in latter rounds that are going to struggle. Like, let me just put it to you this way. You know that kid Steen you guys drafted? If you put him in next year's draft, he's probably a 5th rounder, somewhere there. Hey, no disrespect. He went in the draft that he went in. But you got one of the sandbox guys, like I told you. The lack of talent is exactly right. People were jockeying to move into next year's draft or move up into the top 56. Remember I told you there's about 53 or 56 players in this draft. The rest of them, we'll see if they make teams. I agree with that. Twiz, I agree. I think coaching matters too. I think coaching will make him a better ball player. But let's not forget something. They got pretty damn good coaching down at Alabama too. There's a reason those position coaches down there are making $1.5 million. They're no slouches at Alabama, Georgia. And that's why Howie stays in that swimming pool of the SEC and in Georgia, Alabama. Perfect. Or he goes with people that have been evaluated by NFL head coaches or former coaches like Lovie Smith. Look at all those kids from Illinois that were drafted. I think that entire secondary was drafted. Right? Okay. Howie's got an opportunity. He has got an opportunity. I want to throw this out here. What are your expectations of Jalen Carter this year? What are your expectations? What do you want him to have as personal goals as he gets ready for the upcoming rookie season? What would make you go, wow, what a great pick? 5 sacks and 40% of the snaps. Defensive Rookie of the Year, 215. Day 1 starter. 10 sacks. Woo! At least 7 sacks and a major disruption in the running plays. Day 1 starter. Play about 50% of the snaps, 7 sacks. Someone other teams fear. Tone, let me hear yours too. 8 sacks would be very impressive. Agreed. It is his first year, so who knows? Shane, don't say that. This guy's the 9th pick in the draft. He could have went number 1 overall. You think there's higher expectations at Carolina on Bryce Young? Don't just go, hey, whatever, this is like a redshirt year. That's not what this is. Starter and pressure. A Brad Culpepper season for a rookie. Brings up one of my boys' names. Violence. Okay. Starter is not a goal. Huh. Okay. Hit Dak so hard, he knocks the star off his helmet. Right, Benny? I want Jalen Carter to hit that guy so hard the star falls off his helmet. Okay. Give me 8 sacks, says Tone. Here's my expectations. By the end of the season, I want Jalen Carter to be the best defensive tackle the Eagles have. I want him to be the very best inside tackle that this team has. That would be pretty good, especially with the talent that he has in the building. As of today, who you got NFC or AFC champion game? 5573, I'll get to that. That's a good topic. I'll hit that. Mainly because I know you'll be rotating. Jerome Brown 2.0. I want him to be the very best defensive tackle, and I want us to see those flash plays. I want to see impact. I want to see, like what Ndamukong Suh was his rookie year when he was in Detroit. He was a wrecking ball. I think this guy, given the proper guardrails, could be that wrecking ball. I think he could be that wrecking. I expect it. There is a lot of pressure on Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. The Eagle future in the front seven is in two 21 and 20-year-old players. There is a lot of gambling there. High picks, high expectations. There's an issue with, get this, do you know what the issue is with both these players? I think it's dedication. I think you can coach that. I don't think it's talent. My problem is one thing, though, with dedication. I shouldn't have to push you to the edge. I should have to pull you off the edge. Those are the kind of players I want. Now, when you're pulling players off the edge, you get edgy dudes. It just seems that these two guys, I got to push them a little. Now, if Tracy Rocker's the guy to push him, I believe there's no other D-line coach in the NFL that can motivate these two players other than him. I think these two guys are in an absolutely gold mine situation. Families know each other. They know strengths and weaknesses of one another. They know if Tracy gets on their ass, it's from a place of love. You know, Tracy's got to talk to these two guys differently now than he did when they were at Georgia. You know what he's got to tell them? Man, this is a job now. You get fired from this job. When you're in college, you just get demoted. You get to keep your scholarship. When you're in the NFL, you get fired. You lose what you've built up in a second. Tracy's going to be able to have come to Jesus conversations with these guys. I think Tracy Rocker is going to be one of the most important coaches in that building next to Jeff Stoutland. Because he's got to teach these guys to be pros. I think Jordan Davis struggled on being a pro last year. What it takes. I don't want to talk to you about conditioning. If I've got to bring conditioning up to you, that to me is a weakness in your character. If I've got to tell you to put the White Castle burger down, that's a weakness. You're a pro now. Act like it and perform like it. That's right, JC, like many rookies. But when you're the 13th and 9th pick, do you understand that? Nowhere in that O-line, that legendary Eagle O-line, do you have 2 1s. Not on that Eagle line that you currently have. You have a 7th rounder, a 6th rounder, a 2nd rounder, a 2nd rounder, and a 1st rounder. Over on your defensive line, you've got Cox 1st rounder, Davis 1st rounder, Carter 1st rounder, Graham 1st rounder. You got quite a bit of equity in draft choices, and you drafted all those guys. He played a role last year behind the best D-line in the league. Absolutely untrue. You were 16th against the run. He got 0 hits on the quarterback. He couldn't beat 2 36-year-old D tackles out. Don't talk to me about he played behind a bunch. He couldn't beat out 2 guys that were at the ice cream stand, Arthur. You You got those guys halfway through the year. They weren't even in training camp. Okay? A lot of expectations on those two men. Boy, if I was Jordan Davis, I'd be one pissed off dude. One pissed off dude. Because you know they're thinking this in the building. We really like you, but you didn't step up to your reputation of what we thought you were going to be last year. Not a chance in hell. Maybe Carter can bring that out. Maybe he can bring that out. Okay? Sills, have you ever been approached to coach? Yes, by Butch Davis at UNC and University of Miami and Cleveland. I think Coach Wannstedt asked me for Pitt. And I was asked to be in the personnel department by Ken Herrick with the Raiders and Al Davis and Bruce Allen. Those were the times that I had been kicking around getting into personnel or into coaching. I didn't want to do coaching. I wanted to be more involved in personnel. Okay? So, I mean, I find it cool finding guys like Jordan. See, to me, finding Jalen Carter's, that's not the hard thing. Finding Jordan Mailata's and Jason Kelsey's, that's the gems. Getting a Nick Foles to win you a Super Bowl MVP, to me, that's the gems. You know what I mean? Russell Wilson in the third, Montana in the – that to me, I like that. I like to see guys like Carl Mecklenburg, who was drafted back in the old days when they had 12 rounds. In the 12th round, he goes on to be a 6-time Pro Bowler with the Broncos. Or Tim Krumrie, who was drafted late, and he went on to be an all-pro nose guard. Stuff like that. I like that. Jalen Hurts in the second. I think the Eagles do a really great job of that, okay? All right. How to use Nolan Smith now? How to use Nolan Smith? How would you use him? First and foremost, do you think Nolan Smith has an opportunity to start right away? Funny, now that I think about it, Smith may have the opportunity to start even before Jalen Carter. I think Jalen Carter's got to be a day one starter, in my opinion. Okay? Clifford. Look at Clifford here, man. This guy must be a football guy. I don't want to use him like Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick is a one-dimensional player. Okay? He's a one-dimensional guy. Are you under the impression that you think Hassan Reddick's a better ball player or has more physical attributes than Nolan Smith? He doesn't. Reddick's not a good tackler and can't cover people. He's elite in pass rushing. He's situational. And once they got those 2 D tackles, his game elevated. Kind of the facts. Smith can cover. Smith can cover. He can. I agree. I think, plus he has more length. I think he's like 6'3", 6'4". Am I right? Am I right when I say that, Tone? He's like 6'3", something like that, 6'3", 6'4". He's not a little man. And he's got speed to boot. Personally, I think, and I'm going to make a comparison to you on Nolan Smith here. I think Nolan Smith is an undeveloped Micah Parsons. Let's take a look back at Micah Parsons and his evolution on playing in the Dallas system. Remember something. When their defensive end went out, they were forced to put his hand in the dirt. Dan Quinn didn't know what he had, actually, until he saw the versatility in the kid. And when they found out that this guy could get around the hula hoop, they were amazed. They weren't using him that way. They were using him more as a cover guy, backside of the backfield, and occasionally rushing. Once they realized what they had, they wound him up and let him rush the passer. Personally, 6'2", 238, He's a tad bigger than Hassan Reddick. I thought he was taller. Let's see. Okay, I thought he was taller. 6'2" on the perimeter, rushing the passer. Okay, he's not like he's a little bigger than Reddick. Okay. But he's got that 4-something speed, that 4.4 speed. And that 4.4 speed is going to carry him a long way. Hassan 6'1", 235. He's a little bigger. But that lightning speed that he has. So, what's better? 34-43. Do you situationally pass rush him at first? What's the best way of using Nolan Smith? Use him on third down? And by the way, when I say this, just so you know, most teams are in nickel personnel 75% of the time. It's roughly around 72. But most of the time, you're in nickel personnel anyway, the majority of the game. Very few times are you in first and second down personnel. You're mostly in nickel. 72% of the time in the NFL nowadays. And see, Tone brought something up a couple months ago, maybe been a couple weeks ago, where he said if you don't have 4 linebackers that can be on the field all at once because of the versatile personnel that most teams have nowadays to go after defenses, you're kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit here. He's right. See, the Eagles now have perimeter guys. But Reddick, to me, I think Reddick has to play on the strong side. I think he has to be your strong side linebacker. In the weak side, okay, to me, the weak side linebacker, most of the time, to me, I'm going to flip him. And I'm going to keep Reddick on the right side of my defense. And I'm going to put Nolan Smith to the wide side of the field. Why? To set the perimeter and to set the edge. He's got the speed. I'm going to flip these guys. That's how I would play Nolan Smith. I want Nolan Smith on the wide side so he can cover the open space more than Reddick. Reddick can't. That's not his forte. Not a rip. It's just who he is. It's not a rip. Utilize the 4.4 strength that you have. Keep Nolan Smith. Hey, disrespect. I think your defensive ends, I think they do a nice job on the edge. But with the complex offenses that you have, I want to be able to have a 4.4 guy in open space versus a guy who struggles in making tackles and doesn't do a very good job at covering linebackers and running backs out of the backfield. I'm going to utilize this kid's strengths. This helps Reddick. Wind him up. Hit the quarterback. Wind him up. Hit the quarterback. And what you have Nolan Smith doing, you got Nolan Smith learning the game. You wind him up occasionally and let him hit the quarterback too, because you want to utilize that 4.4 strength just as much. But remember something in the Eagle defense. They don't blitz a ton. I don't think they're going to change a lot of the personality and philosophies that they have in what they did a year ago. I think they believe in that umbrella defense, and I think that is an organizational decision that they've made doing. So for me, if I'm Sean Desai, see, what I'm trying to do is construct the defense for you using all your personnel here. Here, your 2 rush ends. I have to game plan that, guys. I have to game plan Reddick. Dude, 17 sacks has my attention. 17 sacks has my attention. Knocking quarterbacks out of games has my attention. 4.39 also has my attention. What does that mean? Well, I got to keep tight ends in, not just backs. Who's coming? Which one's coming? You've got to make these 2 guys on your edge. You got to make these guys weapons. One guy 17 sacks, another guy 4.39. Tell you this, Nolan Smith doesn't have any equity in the NFL right now. But you know what he does have? That 40 time. That 40 time, if I am an offensive coordinator, I've got to sit here and go like this. I'm not putting a back on that guy. He's going to run right around him. You can't put a back on Reddick. We saw what happened when you tried that shit in San Francisco. Okay? Hey, Seals, remember when I said Reddick would get close to 20? Congratulations, Rage. You got it right. You get a merit badge. You were right. You were right. I wondered why a guy was working on his third team. Now I know why. Arizona and Carolina sucked as coaches. You were right. It's not a rip, and I'm not with sarcasm here. I give it to you. You're right. But to me, again, here. So I'm going to have 4-3-9 in my open field. You say you get around my edge setter, which is Josh Sweat or Brandon Graham. I got to do it out here on the perimeter out here, 4-3-9. Your back or your tight end's not getting away from that guy. He's not getting away from that dude. Okay? Teams want to what? Spread you out, get out wide on you. So you got that pretty covered. Now, your interior, Dean, and this kid Morrow. I think you need another linebacker. Like I said, I'd love this guy, C.J. Mosley. You put C.J. Mosley next to Nakobe, that helps Nakobe. Or somebody like C.J., who's going to be a cap casualty come June 1. I think they need another veteran guy in there. Okay? Nakobe Dean is going to be a good football player if Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and Fletcher Cox have a great year. Your guy will have a great year. I've got to play both. I do not want to do this. I do not want to have my 2 first-rounders off the field because we're playing a 34. And Jordan's at the nose, and you've got Sweat and Graham. So you're going to sit Carter and Cox? Why would you do that? It makes no sense. You're taking your best players off the field. I'm almost going to go to a 5-look bear front. Nose, 2 guards, 2 ends, rushers, 2 linebackers. Okay? And to Tone's point, shit, man, I got a 4-3-9 guy out here that's going to be covering open space. I got a 4-3-9 guy who's going to be in the middle of the field. My corners are set. The safeties have to play well. And they created depth at safety. Okay? I think you got to run to 43 too. I think you got to run to 43 and you got to come out of that look. Okay? Joe says, Sills, you're absolutely brilliant when it comes to identifying who can play. I hope you could take a chance and put your knowledge on display. Hey, all I'm saying to you is I want to put my best players in the best position to be successful. And taking Jalen Carter and Fletcher Cox off the field and putting just one nose in and Graham and playing a 34 front with limited linebackers is not something I think is a successful remedy. I think you'll have holes. You'll have more holes in a 34 than you will in a bear or the 43. Your personnel right now is set up for the 43. Okay? Now, if you improve it somehow with linebackers, then it's a different, but you're not. You're limited there. You're stronger on the perimeter right now. Look at where you are. Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick, Nolan Smith, right? Inside you have an inexperienced Nakobe Dean and a guy you got from the Bears. That's not going to cut it. Now, could this kid Morrow play better because he's got better personnel on his sides, on his flanks, and in front of him? Yeah, he could. He's an experienced pro. How he identified that, hey, got to remember something. They took Roquan Smith away from him, playing next to him. They took Hicks away from him, who was playing in front of him. And they basically stripped that defense down in Chicago. So no wonder he was chasing for those 100 tackles the entire season. Played on one of the worst, if not the worst defense in the NFL. Well, there's a reason. The personnel also played a factor in that. How could you have the worst defense in the NFL in Chicago? Holy shit. Just think about what the Philadelphia fans were doing to Jonathan Gannon when they were playing that soft coverage, umbrella coverage. And in Chicago, you had the home of the linebacker, the worst defense in the league. How inappropriate is that? No wonder Chicago fans are killing them up there every game and every day. How can you have a shitty defense in Chicago? That's incredible. Chicago's known for defense. You're known for screwing the quarterback up, but you're usually known for defense. That ideology has completely gone away since there's really been no leadership there when it comes to running that team. They get these stupid coaches in there, and they don't go to the philosophy of today. So to me, again, Nolan Smith has a chance to be a game wrecker. You put him, and get this, he's going to be more singly lined up one-on-one, and you're going to watch a guy, dude, 4.39, I am going to take complete advantage of that guy's speed. And I'm assuming because he played in a great scheme and in a great defense with great players, that his transition is going to you know what I noticed at the press conferences about him? He's in command. Did you not notice that about him? When Jalen Carter was there and Nolan Smith was talking, articulate, smart, command, Jalen was a little bit kind of probably nervous what people may ask him. Nolan Smith, though, I thought Nolan Smith was in command. He seemed like a leader guy. Didn't he to you? I felt good about him. I felt good listening to him. When things started going a little bit amateurish in the press conference, he grabbed the mic. It's our opportunity. We really feel that we're going to really have and hopefully give this team some support here and anything they need from us. It was like, I really liked it. So to me, Nolan Smith may have more of an impact this year than even Jalen Carter, because you're going to see his plays because of his speed. Jalen Carter, look, for me, 7 sacks, 54% of the plays. If you're in there and he's got hits on the quarterback and he's lined up in the 3 technique, he could be in the conversation on making the all-rookie team. And I expect him to. I think Nolan Smith can. There's something about the kid Smith. The more I watch, I went back and see, to me, impressions matter too. But just the way a guy commands it, like Jalen commands a room. Nolan Smith kind of commands the room. I think he's impressive. I think he's an impressive young man. And when you had a conversation with him in Indianapolis, I see why the coaches liked him. I see why they thought a lot of him. See, and you know what I like too? When you go back and you listen to all the press conferences, I went over to the Twitter page of the Eagles. And I was listening to Sidney Brown talk and Keely Ringo. And I was listening to Tyler Steen and Nolan Smith and all these guys. A lot of quality and character guys. I was pretty impressed with these guys. Got good people, coached by great guys, great programs. This is all in these kids' laps. I'll tell you one more time here. Let me say it again to you. Your general manager is by far, let me back up. I think John Schneider in Seattle has done a great job. Mickey Loomis is a great talent evaluator. We'll see what they do in New Orleans. I think people are sleeping on them. I think Joe Douglas is doing some fine things with the Jets. I think Belichick has fallen off the map. I think Gutekunst, did you hear that bullshit from Matt LaFleur in overselling Jordan Love? You see what the Packers did? They gave him this really weird 1-year extension of $22 million with 13 or 14 guaranteed for a guy that's never played or limited play. They're overselling it, which means this: they're not sure. You don't oversell certainty. Did anybody oversell Jalen Hurts signing that contract? Did anybody say anything on why Philadelphia gave him that contract? I never heard the owner say it. I never heard the general manager. We believe in this kid's future. We believe who he is, and he's got equity to show it. Okay? They're going off of what they've seen. In Green Bay, you're going off of what you're hoping. You're going off of what you're hoping. And look at the ton of equity in the draft, free agents, all the shit that they're doing. Personally, I think Matt LaFleur is an overrated coach, and it's going to be exposed this year. And I don't think Jordan Love's a good ball player. Because if Jordan Love was a good ball player, Aaron Rodgers would have never got that 3-year contract extension. You know it, and I know it. If they believed it. Not a chance. Not a chance. They would have never given him that money. And look at what Rodgers did. I think Rodgers did the right move by getting the hell out of Green Bay. They were never going to – they put all the faith of the organization in his lap and did nothing for him. No wideouts, nothing. He developed them all, him and Favre. And now, because you know why they're doing all that in Green Bay? They're doing it because they're trying to cover the mistake of Jordan Love. They're going to put, dude, if they could put Derrick Henry up there, they would. They would put Derrick Henry. Now, some will turn around and go, well, Sills, aren't they doing the same shit in Philadelphia? It's different, though. You have a quarterback that was working with you. You have a quarterback that gave you off-ramps. You have a quarterback that wants a roster around him. You know what you basically have? You have a Tom Brady 2.0 version of a guy who's investing in himself. I have always said this about Tom Brady. And you know why Tom Brady's worth the money he's worth now? And you know why Tom Brady has the rings he has now? Is because Tom Brady never took the most money. Tom Brady always gave back money for the rest of the team so that the Patriots could go out and get other players in the O-line, situational players, not superstars, but a roster. And they built a roster. I would say this to you. On that Philadelphia Eagle defense right now, there's no superstars. That's like a Philadelphia's got like a New England defense. When Brady was in New England. Okay, you had Stephon Gilmore. Dude, I wouldn't call Mike Vrabel a star. Richard Seymour, they moved. Chandler Jones, they traded. Okay? It wasn't like Rodney Harrison was at the back nine of his career along with Sayal. Teddy Bruschi, Hightower, those guys weren't superstar ball players. They were good ball players. They were good. It's kind of what they're doing in Philly. And it's working like it did in New England. Ty Law, only star? Probably. Okay? Again, Darrelle Revis, I get. You notice it's at the corner position, though. Stephon Gilmore, Revis. Okay? That's where they believed. That's why this kid Gonzalez falling down to them. They may not have had a great draft, but they got a good pick in the draft. John says, I loved it when Jalen Carter was struggling at his pro day. Who was there for Jalen? Nolan Smith. That's a leader. Nolan Smith. That is so true. I saw that same thing. Let me tell you something, John. all this shit that's being talked about on Jalen Carter, he has got a support system in Philadelphia that is don't take it lightly. You got Rocker in there, you got Davis in there, you got Dean in there, you've got Nolan Smith in there. He has so many fail safes for him being an Eagle. Man, it is so great to see. This is why I have not one problem with anything about this young man's character. I hope he doesn't prove me wrong, but I have no misgivings about that team taking him at 9 because he could have went at 1. Okay? Could have went at 1. And if you look at the draft, here, Jalen Carter, underdrafted. Nolan Smith, probably underdrafted. Couple picks. Tyler Steen, overdrafted. Sidney Brown, underdrafted. Kelee Ringo, underdrafted. Tanner McGee, underdrafted. The Texas kid, one of the top 100 high school prospects when he went to Texas and went to Austin, probably underdrafted. And again, the thing that Steen's got the advantage of, he's got Jeff Stoutland. He'll be okay. He'll be okay. Philadelphia was the absolute best thing for Jalen Carter's long-term success. If he fails, it's entirely on him. 1,000%. Like, here's the difference here between him and Jalen Reagor. If this guy turns out to be Mike Momola, it won't be because the Eagles didn't do their homework. I will not blame Philly. I will not blame the Eagles or the front office. No way. That's the kid's fault. That's the kid's fault. And I would also say this. Be the last time I talked to Kirby Smart about a kid. You better tell me the truth when I'm asking you about a kid and I find out that this guy's a shitbag and you ain't telling me the truth. And, you know, most coaches have a but. Or they don't when it comes to their players. Here's how Jimmy would do it. This guy's a really great ball player, but, and there was always a but behind it if the kid was a problem or had some issues. Sometimes he didn't put that but behind it. Rage says, Cox rookie year, he got 5.5. Donald had 9 sacks. Do you think if Carter doesn't fall in that range, he underperformed? Here's the thing, though. Fletcher was in a rotation too, right? See, Donald Rage is such a freak show. He's 6 feet, 275. I don't know how he does it inside. You know, last year he was injured. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does that. He's the best pass rushing 3 technique, I think, in NFL history. I don't think he's the best D tackle in NFL history. I don't think he's Joe Green. I think Sapp's better. Okay? I do. I think Sapp's better than Aaron Donald because those guys were dual players. Shit, there's a point in me that really liked that 1 point Fletcher Cox. I thought I prefer Fletcher Cox over him because Fletcher could get you 7-8 sacks, but he also played the run and stopped the run. And he was an all-around DT. I like that in a football play. I like you all around. I don't like you running around blocks. And I thought Aaron Donald ran around a lot of blocks. I still think he does. That's why he plays on defenses that give up 5.5 yards a clip. You know how you beat the Rams? Run the ball on them. That's why a team like Philly would own the Rams at full strength. They would own the Rams. They would own the Rams. I mean, he runs around a shitload of blocks. Dude, TFLs, sacks, the numbers exceed it. So you kind of do this. You kind of do this with Aaron Donald. Okay. Like you did with Junior Seau. Junior Seau never played in a defensive scheme. He played in his own scheme. Like here's what Seau would do in his young days. Seau would completely break down the defense, miss the tackle, but then turn around and run the guy down 17 yards. And you're sitting there on film going, you let that shit go. Because the guy's so freaking great. You just let it go. The same thing with like Barry Sanders. -5, -5, 82-yard touchdown run. You're just like this. What are you going to do? You give guys like that latitude. Okay? You give them latitude. Like the guy Diggs that plays in Dallas. That guy gambles so much that I don't like that style. I don't like you getting 6 picks, but yet you give up 10 touchdowns and teams attacking you. To me, I think that's kind of like fool's gold numbers. So wait a minute. They targeted you the 3rd most in the league. You had 6 interceptions. You turn around and you go, did he have a good year? They targeted him every time we played against him. Right? I don't like guys like that. They gamble like. See, that's the one thing that you do like what the Eagles have done. The Eagles have a structured system. Okay? They have a structured way of doing things. Yeah, no, man. I mean, look, Nolan Smith has a chance to be a weapon for Philly this year. I think he has the ability to be a weapon. I would line him up before we take a time out here. I would line him up in the wide side of the field, the open field. Okay? Why? 4-3-9, dude. 4-3-9. Let Reddick come off the other side. Dude, you got guys doing this. Those perimeter guys, Smith and Hassan Reddick. If I don't see those guys utilized from this D coordinator, what's the point of drafting them? If Nolan Smith is 4-3-9 is not being used, why'd you draft him? Why'd you draft him? Okay? Dallas didn't get better this offseason. I think we sweep them. I disagree. I think Dallas did get better. I don't like the draft pick they picked. Okay? I don't. All right. I got grades for all 3 days of every team in the NFL. My post coaching hires, free agency, and NFL draft, top 10 NFC and AFC teams. We're going to do that next. Don't forget, my boy Philly 500 is going to join me in hour 3 at 5:30. I want to get his take. I think it's going to be I'll tell you my take on all the teams, especially in the NFC East. Hit the like button, hour 2. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Do you stream on a Roku?